little bit just of a trend and a lesson. And I've also put these on here, so I'm going to be quite brief as I go through this. But what I wanted you to see is where we've came over the last 6 years, and kind of what the lines are looking like across in our reporting for the university. And so you can see tuition and fees, federal grants, state grants, on down the line, and kind of how it's spacing out over time. If we do a trend line, our tuition and fees, we know have trended downward with our enrollment. The pandemic was the beginning of that. And so we're still sliding. We basically held our own the last year. Operating expenses, you see there with the adjustments we made on salaries and fringes and scholarships and things like that, we continue to move around. Then non-operating, and then our net position, which is something that they touched on, 4 of us touched on, and we discussed at some length in that 2017, 40 million. And then we had dipped to 16 million prior to making the adjustments. And you can see the income loss that we were experiencing, and we're back up to 35 now. So we're gaining ground. A country saying to look at this would be, we're not quite out of the woods, but we are making much progress in what we're doing. Okay. And this just shows Governor Landis likes trend lines and things, and has requested we use them as needed in our committee report. So here's a trend line to show you the low and where we're going to over the last 6 fiscal years. Our cash position, you can see it again holding steady, and I believe we were at 85, 86 days of cash on hand, so for operations, which is good. So moving in the right direction. Capital assets, and I had this slide added in because I wanted to highlight this for you, because one of the issues that we faced as a campus is not reinvesting back into our facilities and our equipment and things like that. And I'd like you to see how we're above any 2017 rate with what we're doing because of the funds that we've been able to put back in to our facilities. And that's everything from roads to heating and air to roofs to renovations of major renovations. So I wanted you to see that. Those have long-term impact on the operation and the function of the campus. So we made a motion from the committee to approve the audit report, and it was done there, but we need a Board of Governors approval at this point in time. So Governor Landis.
Well, Chairman Eversole, it is the committee's recommendation that the board approve the committee's report as presented by Vice President Morrison.
Thank you, Governor Landis. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Do I have a motion to approve the Personnel, Finance, and Operations Committee report as presented?
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion?
May I ask one quick
You
question
may.
on enrollment?
Yes.
Dollars, is that also with an price increase? I know that's not what
Yes.
you call it, but
Yes. Yes. Very minimal from last year to this year.
but
And
from
it's
2017, how much do you think we've raised tuition percentage wise?
percentage wise over that period of time, I would say possibly 10%. I'd have to go back and
I
actually
bet that's
calculate.
pretty close to right.
I would have to calculate. I will tell you that we were not raising at the rate of inflation at one time, and holding it lower, and that we were, quote, what they were calling banking it, which really didn't work out. So, okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The motion carried.
Okay, and all of this you just approved, but we did talk about the 23 financial report. This is in your booklet, as is the Baker equipment rental. Two informational items. One I shared, the one at the bottom about a contract management software that we'll be entering into an agreement on to help us with a lot of our legal issues and things like that, and contracts, and really is an efficiency expenditures, how I would say it. The other thing I wanted to point out for this body is a health insurance renewal. Our health insurance premiums will be rising by 4.8% for calendar year 23. That begins January 1. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City, we're not making any changes to our insurance plans in any way, shape, or form. But I did want to, as an informational item for the board, just to let you know that we are having an increase, and that this was a budgeted increase that we have included in our budget. So there's no additional expenses to our employees on as faculty or staff. Okay. Any questions or comments for me before I sit back down? Thank you, governors, Governor Eversole.
Thank you, Vice President Morrison. We'll now hear from the vice presidents and other cabinet members. And the first up will be Academic Affairs, Dr. Laura Reynolds.
Good afternoon, governors. Glad to be here. Glad to see everybody. We have a packed agenda, and several of these items that we'll talk about today touch on heavily on academic affairs, but I wanted to provide you a few updates and sort of the focus items from academic affairs. And I wanted to thank the faculty who are listening and who have helped, as well as the chairs and the deans and the team in academic affairs, because like CPAs, we have certain busy seasons, and this is when we really think about strategic hiring. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about strategic hiring, a little bit about strategic scheduling, and then lastly, some elements of retention. So I'm really proud and excited to talk a little bit about the strategic hiring process and how this is a continuation of what Dr. Manganero and Dr. Hepworth in academic affairs engaged in last year, and that really looking at what programs we have at the university, what kind of demands we have regionally in relation to workforce production, where we see our demand really rising with our stakeholders, and then how are we going to invest in light of the current financial situation, and being able to work with Daryl's shop and work with folks in finance to really make sure that we're being very good stewards of our resources, but also, to his earlier point, we're investing where we should invest. So I'm really pleased to say that the faculty and the deans and the chairs put forward 18 requests to hire faculty. And of those 18 requests, 13 were recommended, and five were not recommended for hire at this time. The 13 that are recommended, that investment by the university and the commitment by the president, by Daryl's budgeting shop to support faculty and support our academic programs is really noteworthy. These represent strategic investments by the university in areas where we have the most demand right now. And of these that have been selected, we have 10 that we consider critical hires. And we decided to table those as critical hires because those are what the deans and the chairs and the faculty regard as real pain points in terms of our operation and our enrollments. So we're talking about things for which there's difficulty finding contingent faculty, or that it's really programmatically or demand-wise. For example, in digital animation, where you saw at your last meeting, where the enrollments are really up, we need to invest in that. But equally, the president and financial services and academic affairs are very invested in making sure that our general studies are robust. And so equally investing in that element of hiring. So we're really pleased with that. You will see soon in the next week an ad in the Chronicle and an advertisement and a little bit about the university in a way that we haven't talked about before, talking about our applied learning mission, talking about our region and how St. Joe and this area in Missouri is a place to come. It's a place to be, and how great Missouri Western is. It's a little bit more braggy, very honestly, but it should be. right? And that's what our competition does. It brags. It says, you want to come live here. You want to work with our faculty. So that's what we're going to do. And that's how we're going to operate. Of the 13 positions, the 10 that are critical, we're moving forward right now. There are 3 that we call pending that we're waiting to watch our budget numbers, because again, we're trying to be very responsible stewards, but we feel confident that we'll be able to fund those positions as well. Those that we're holding back right now, we're looking for our numbers this year, trying to be, again, good stewards, watch our enrollment numbers, watch how courses fill this year, and then be able to pursue those potentially next year or move in a different direction. What we're trying to do each year when we think about strategic hiring, it's sort of a zero-based budgeting model, right? Where is our need and how are we going to fill it? The other thing I want to talk a little bit about that lays on top of that is strategic scheduling. And there's a lot of overlap here with Dr. Mace's shop, but what we're really trying this year, and it is this semester, and it is a little bit, it's a new way to look at scheduling here, and that we're really trying to be mindful of presenting a skeletal schedule, right? We're trying to start with our bare bones, and then we're trying to, we call it an accordion, fold it out based on need. And I know I've talked with the Senate Executive Committee, I've talked with a lot of faculty members about this, and this is a new approach, right? But these are new times, and what we know is our learners have different patterns of consuming education, and so we're trying to be responsive to that and making sure that we're being very targeted with how we populate these classes and how we trim them back. And there's some discomfort in that, very honestly, and there's some learning that goes on our part. And in an ideal world, we'd look back at trends for the past 5 years, but with COVID and retrenchment, like, it's not entirely possible to really create a clear picture by looking back 5 years to see what behavior used to be, because this is a little bit of a different world. So what we are doing in lieu of being able to sort of have that past tense to look at is we are very tightly monitoring all of the data. So both in terms of enrollments and in terms of retention, I can tell you that the around 1,400 lines on the Excel script that represent the schedule, that every dean, every chair, every faculty member and academic affairs is watching the fill rates of those classes. And just today we had a success that we were talking about with Dean Hires College, where we watched enrollments, and Dr. Mace's shop and our shop worked together, and we unfolded another section of the class to meet student need. And so we're not over offering, we're offering kind of a just in time sort of process, but that takes a team working together. And so that's what I'm really excited about watching, but it's going to be a challenge. Well, but we're excited to give it a shot. And then the last thing that I want to mention, that it's sort of like 3 layers, is the campuses and academic affairs emphasis on retention. So Dr. Mace talks a lot about recruitment, but part of what our faculty and our staff and the deans and the chairs, and I think a lot about, is how are we going to keep the students that are here? How are we going to help them be successful? How are we going to help them find the classes and find the ways in which they can pursue their education and their future? So one of the ways we're starting to do that now is to look at the courses that they're in this fall. And I can tell you, because I looked this morning at the Excel spreadsheet, we are actually planning to look at who's withdrawing from what classes and what are the midterm grades that are being reported, so that we can start to think about how can we mediate at this point in the fall semester and start to think about, are you going to have to retake this class in the spring? What are we going to do to make sure that you get to the right person to get the right assistance you need? And then how does that inform what we offer in the spring? And again, this is emerging. We're working with a really dynamic situation with learners who are very different from the learners even 5 years ago. But the DFW report I got this morning, we went through, and it's 1,118 lines, every section, every lab, every offering at this university. And we look at what the withdrawal rates are and what the midterm grades are. And so that's sort of the level of detail that we're engaging in now in order to be more strategic with the resources that you've provided and to be good stewards of what we're doing. And I know that in the report from the auditors, it said that 56.4% of faculty are not aware of what we're trying to do, right, nationwide. And there's a question about that. And what I want to take just a minute to say is this campus is. These faculty are. They know what we're doing. They know why they're here. And they know what the financial really reality is in front of them. And they are working to make sure that their sections, their programs are student focused and they are serving our region and our state. So I want you to feel confident about that and feel that the rest of the country, there may be 56.4% of the faculty, but not here at Missouri Western. So that's I know we have strategic planning coming up, so I tried to keep it brief. Are there any questions that I might answer on behalf of academic affairs? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Next will be the Student Affairs and Enrollment Management by Dr. Melissa Mace.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. As noted in your board book, the fall 2022 academic semester has been filled with out of the classroom activities to engage our new and returning students. I would like to highlight just a few for you today. Welcome Week kicked off the fall semester with 6 events every day or evening of the first week of school. Pictured here are students participating in back to school bingo. Definitely one of our most popular events with 215 students enjoying the activity. Family Day was held on Saturday, September 24th. This was truly a cross-campus collaboration with 15 different activities held throughout the day, culminating with the tailgate event and the Griffin football game. And finally, I would like to mention homecoming. Throughout homecoming week, 9 activities were held to engage our students. In addition, the Missouri Western Parade with 43 campus and community entries, including 8 high school marching band entries, wound its way through downtown St. Joseph on Saturday morning. You may recall that at the August Board of Governors meeting, I briefly introduced to you Max Engage, a new online platform that we have engaged with that's designed to better engage students in activities, events, meetings, campus elections, and so much more. Max Engage tracks student participation and creates what is referred to as a co-curricular transcript, which is really a record of participation that our students can then use in preparation for job interviews and graduate applications. Not only does Max Engage record event participation, but it also records leadership roles, memberships in registered student organizations, Gold Friday event participation, and so much more. For us as staff, we gleaned some pretty interesting data as well that allows us to make decisions based on that information. For example, so far this semester, 76 different types of gatherings have been recorded in the system. We know that freshmen living on campus participate at twice the rate of students who live off campus. And we now know that the average size of an event is typically 49, and the average number of events attended by students who are participating in Max Engage events, attendance is about 3. We also know that our freshmen are far more likely to participate in Max Engage events, most likely because we introduced Max Engage to them at Griffin Edge. So they're Max Engage natives. This is only the very, very beginning of what we can learn from our students' engagement outside the classroom and how that impacts retention. Research tells us that the greater the participation, especially in the early college career, can lead to an increased sense of belonging and connection to the university. We've only begun to learn what we can do with this tool, and I look forward to sharing more information with you at future Board of Governors meetings. While we are working hard to engage our current students, we are also actively recruiting the fall 2024 class. On the screen, you see a sampling of the postcards we send out to prospective students, congratulating newly minted high school seniors on their new status, encouraging seniors to apply for admission, sign up for a campus tour, and visit Missouri Western. In addition to the many mailers we do throughout the course of the recruitment, we also communicate via text and email, on billboards, in newspapers, and most importantly, face-to-face. So far this fall, we've attended nearly 100 college fairs, made 25 community college visits, and visited over 80 high schools. To that end, to date, we have admitted 6% more new freshmen for fall 2023 than at the same time last year. As a reminder, we did quite a bit of course correction last year, which accounts for the significant gap between 2021 and 2022. You might recall things like opening the application on time, getting back out into the community, getting back out into the schools, really made a big difference. On this slide, we have Missouri divided into the 6 territories for both assignment purposes and comparison purposes. From left to right, you see we are doing quite well in Buchanan County and experiencing growth in Kansas City and Central Missouri, North Kansas City, East Missouri, and North Missouri. We are slightly down in southern Missouri right now. Let's take a closer look at the Buchanan County schools, including the St. Joseph School District. As you can see, we are up across the board with the exception of DeKalb, which has no applicants or admits for any of the 3 years at this point in time. They typically come on a little later in the recruitment cycle. So we're doing, I'm very pleased with how we're doing in the Buchanan County schools. And I think that the visibility of Missouri Western is really paying off in the community. And we're just starting to see some more traction here. Top Missouri counties. So if you look at this one, our top 6 Missouri counties are Andrew, which we're currently even with last year. Buchanan County, of course, we're up. Clay County, up slightly. We see nice growth in Jackson County again this year. Platte is experiencing growth. And then St. Louis County is down by just 1 admit over the same time last year. Top academic interests. With regard to our top majors and interests, nursing is once again our top major, followed by psychology, elementary education, management, pre-med, and criminal justice. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Dr. Mace, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Okay, University Advancement and the Missouri Western State University Foundation by Mark Archambault.
Thank you, governors. Again, in the interest of time, I'll be fairly brief, but I'm happy to take questions. I'm sure the president will remark on this in her sections, but I did want to mention briefly the Advancement and Foundation staff, assisted by the Office of the President and the Marketing Communications Division, helped host the inaugural CTAC Industrial Partners Advisory Council on September 20th. That group consisted of representatives from workforce areas in the fields of ag, biotechnology, heavy construction, industrial maintenance, and production manufacturing. We had nearly 50 attendees, which also included community leaders in the mix. Fundraising for the CTAC project has quietly begun and will pick up speed. On the topic of fundraising, a few updates from the Advancement Office. As of the end of August, approximately $350,000 in gifts have been raised. That's up 65% over the same time last year. So that's an encouraging start. We're in the process of closing 500,000 in solicitations that will take place in the month of November, which will also see 800,000 in new solicitations. Another $295,000 in conversations are moving forward and may potentially become solicitations. The other types of fundraising entities that make advancement move forward include the ambassadors. The ambassadors held a membership luncheon on September 22nd, which was sponsored by Deluxe Truck Stop, with also support garnered from Scott Gann Construction, Commerce Bank, and NORAM Cold Storage. These sponsorships and new memberships from the Scholarship Champions Giving Society that the ambassadors have created are raising funds for their scholarship program. The next ambassadors luncheon will be on November 17th and feature a cast of student speakers who are non-traditional students, a great event to attend if you have the opportunity. Our student calling program continues through the fall. It's a very small program with just one student participating this year. But even that one student, I think, has made an impact. And I do want to share this story because I think it's indicative of the importance that students play in attracting philanthropic support. We wanted to get our student off to a good start. There's one donor that always likes to give exclusively when the student calls them. And every year without fail, they give $1,000 over the phone to one of our students. But this year he was so excited to talk to our student, learn which sport she was in, learn which country she was originally from. He decided to increase his gift to $5,000 after a brief phone call. And I think that's just indicative of the scale of impact that can take place when we connect our donors with our students. We also use new stewardship technology we've created, which allows the student to very quickly send a personalized video email out to that donor. And that was also incredibly well received by that donor. Direct mail programs continue apace. Giving Tuesday this year is Tuesday, November 29th. An anonymous donor has agreed to match donations made on or before that date up to $10,000. So if you need an incentive to give on Giving Day, this is a great opportunity to help us garner that $10,000 match. On the alumni front, Griffin Stories is our alumni oral history project. It's well underway. As of mid-October, 1,420 alumni, about 5% of our total alumni base, have responded and provided over 1,000 stories. That's 70% of the people who participate going ahead and sharing their memories of their time at Missouri Western and providing an audio recording of their comments. To give you an idea of how pleasurable an experience this has been for most of the participants, we've also received 53 donations as a result of those calls, many from first-time donors. So it really did make an impression. Finally, the project has also, through this outreach, validated, updated, or acquired new contact information for alumni and donors, capturing hundreds of mailing addresses, phone numbers, and emails that support future communications and fundraising. The Alumni Awards Banquet was held on Friday, October 7th, and the distinguished graduate Griffin of the Last Decade and Ifford Award winners rode in the parade and were invited to the President's Suite in Spratt Memorial Stadium for the game. All winners were recognized on the field prior to the game. Also during homecoming, over 100 alumni stopped by the alumni tent as part of the tailgate and updated their contact information. We also had a wonderful event here on campus that you may have heard of through other channels. Becky Dunn did a great job bringing the St. Joe School District teachers onto campus in a large number as part of their professional development day. And we made sure that all the alumni in that body received a pin and some recognition. It's a great opportunity. 2 upcoming alumni events to be aware of. One is the reception that'll be part of the Athletics Hall of Fame banquet on the 28th, and Grad Fest, which equips our soon-to-be alumni graduating students with their cap and gown and alumni information, will take place on November 30th. Switching over to the foundation, just a few items to share. It's anticlimactic now, but I think this news should always be anticlimactic. You know that because the foundation rolls up into the audit, that things went well with the foundation audit. And I'm pleased too to say we had no material findings. So we're very pleased to have been able to contribute to the larger effort. The investment committee of the foundation met to review key foundation investment challenges that are taking place in the market right now, and to begin to review endowment data provided by Daryl Morrison from the National Association of College and University Business Officers, NACUBO, and the Association of Governing Boards, which is the body that connects to many governing boards for universities and university foundations, known as AGB. We looked at data from both of those bodies, and the committee is now reflecting on various strategies aimed at minimizing its negative market exposure. Just a couple of last items. The foundation will host its next meeting on November 2nd. This is an especially important meeting. In it, 5 to 7 new members will be inducted to the foundation board. Others that are departing will be thanked, and the slate of officers for the coming year will be established. Finally, I want to say thank you to all of those who were able to attend the inaugural University Council. This was a gathering on campus of some of the most prominent volunteer and donor organizations, from this body to the Alumni and Foundation Boards, to the Gold Coat Club, the Arts Society, the Craig School of Business Executive Advisory Council, and more. I had an opportunity to hear from President Kennedy and Chris Dunn on some of the university priorities. So thank you to all those who are able to join us. I'm happy to take any questions, but that's my report.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Next will be a report on the athletics by Andy Carter.
Thank you, governors. Good to see everybody today. Just a few highlights. Obviously, this weekend is a huge weekend for Griffin Athletics as we have our Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Friday. And then on Saturday, we have a football game where we'll also recognize those inductees at halftime. A special note of the receptions, because of the size of this event, I think as of today, we were at 365 people confirmed, which is a very large event. We will have 2 separate receptions. In the atrium of Spratt will be for the volleyball team and the individual inductees. And then in 216, 218 will be for the 2012 football team. So I would encourage you that if you're around, to drop by and say hello and make some of those reacquaintances from people who have been here in the past. Would also like to mention that our partnership with Mosaic continues to grow. We are hopefully just a few tweaks of legal document to have a final agreement, but we've been in practice since the fall started of the medical model that I've once shared with you that is now in full play. We're still maybe 1 or 2 short of having a full staff, but it's working outstanding. Our student athletes are receiving a high level of care, and there's a ton of coordination between our department, our student athletes, the athletic trainers, team physicians, and the hospital. I couldn't be more excited that we were able to get that done. Wanted to also just as a point of recognition, recognize Teresa Grossbach. Was just recently, I think maybe last night or yesterday, appointed to the Division II Management Council. That is a very powerful, very select position for somebody to serve on. And I'm sure she'll serve us very well and represent us well. But with what's going on right now within all of college athletics in all divisions with new constitutions and new ways of doing business, and even the trickle down once the dust settles at the Division I level, it just makes me feel better. I serve on the National Membership Committee, her serving on the Management Council. We will be well represented knowing what's going on as these things start to fall out. So congratulations, Teresa. A couple other things of note in the recreation area. We had 75 participants in flag football this fall. It's a 27% increase over last fall. Anytime that we see more involvement with students and activities on campus, I think that's a good thing. Esports. For this fall, they competed out at the Peach Belt Conference Championships. We took 5th place for the Rocket League, 3rd place in the Valorant, and we had the Valorant Player of the Year in Michael Dunn. And so things are continuing to move very, very well in the esports. So they're averaging 43 check-ins a day compared to last year's 24. And in the month of September, they had over 1,000 students check in to see what's going on in the esports arena. So I think that's fantastic. Currently, today at 4 o'clock, they begin a 24-hour live stream, 4 p.m. today till 4 p.m. tomorrow as a fundraiser, and they raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. I think it's an exciting time to be here as part of this university and a great time to be a Griffin. So any questions?
Thank you, Andy.
You bet.
Next, we'll have a report on marketing and communications by Becky Dunn.
Good afternoon. Pleased to share some highlights with you from my printed report. Overall, we provided a lot. Oh, not yet. We'll use that later. Thank you, though. So our marketing and communications team has provided a lot of promotional and photography support at several major events across campus this fall. We're working to build an inventory of new high-quality images that can be used for multiple purposes. We're also trying to increase our collaboration by having regular meetings and special project kickoff meetings across campus so we can align on vision, purpose, and scope for various projects with our colleagues. You'll hear more about the strategic plan later, but we were a part of that process over the summer and excited to report out what we've learned and what those next steps are. One of the new things that we've implemented this fall is a photo sharing site called SmugMug. We launched this for Family Day, and it's an opportunity for us to take photos and then give a business card with a QR code to the individual that they can later use to access their photo. Since we launched SmugMug, we've had 26,000 views. People like their photos. So this is working well. We're excited to use it for internal purposes too. If you take a look inside the report, you'll see some data from August 1st to September 30th about the projects that our team has processed. Over 500 projects in that period of time. You'll see also some statistics about social media. We continue to improve across the 4 major platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We've added new followers on each of those. In addition, we're seeing an increase in engagement and impressions. So engagement represents any type of interaction with our content, and it's usually a sign of the content quality. You want good engagement. We've seen an increase in mentions and hashtag usage on Instagram and Twitter. And impressions represents the number of times our content has been seen. So on Instagram alone, we had just over 44,000 more views of content in the last 2 months compared to the previous 2 months. So again, great progress there. One of our TikTok videos went viral this summer. We used a trending audio package featuring content, featuring a current student in our campus Starbucks. This video was 8.78 seconds long. It had 251,000 views, 34,000 likes, 53 comments, 144 shares, 1,348 saves, and resulted in 357 new followers on TikTok. Go find it. In terms of our website, we're continuing to try to fill this critical vacancy of our web design coordinator. So shout out to our team. Several members of the marketing team has been stepping up to cover that vacancy, especially Aubrey Carpenter, who has been really taking the load of web updates. So appreciate her time and effort. Google is transitioning from Google Universal to Google Analytics 4. So this is going to cause some disruption in our ability to track year-over-year comparison data with web traffic. But I will highlight just a couple of web pages that had a lot of hits in the last 2 months. 4 of the top 10 were new to our top 10 list. And that includes the Early College Academy, Human Resources, Graduate School, and Family Day. That concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
We'll now hear from our president, President Kennedy.
Well, thank you, Chair Eversole, Vice Chair Schoonover, and governors. It may be a remnant of my experiences as a faculty member in the classroom, but knowing that next week we begin week 10 of the semester with only a third left, always makes me question, where does the semester go? How does time fly by so quickly? So speaking of our timelines and semester activities, as we've heard, our campus community has been incredibly engaged in many different activities this fall, from fall sports, and we'll soon transition into our winter sports series, to homecoming, to alumni, to our ongoing efforts to promote applied learning. For example, to date, we know we have scheduled slightly over 60 applied student learning experiences, to which nearly 150 of our students have attended just this part of the semester. And this is a great reflection of our Gold Fridays initiative, particularly through the work of Dr. Mike Ducey and our Griffin Office of Applied Learning, but also to our substantial student volunteer engagement through our Center for Service and the very good efforts of Kim Segrist as director. In fact, just yesterday, I had the great pleasure of congratulating Miss Erica Dunn. She is a 2021 graduate of the Craig School of Business and is now pursuing her MBA here. But yesterday, Erica received the 2022 Judith K. Sabert Spark Award from the Mosaic Life Care Foundation. Now, Erica is currently employed as a facilitator at Empower U. And if you're not familiar with Empower U, it is the wonderfully impactful, youth-centered, technology-focused learning facility. It's located down at 6th Street and Masseny. Erica began her journey there at Empower U through the Center for Service. She volunteered there. This is more evidence that connecting our students to St. Joseph through volunteers will help keep them there. She's now employed full-time, and we just couldn't be more proud of her. So speaking of accomplishments, winter commencement will be upon us sooner than we know, and that's when we will be celebrating the accomplishments of our graduating students. Just a reminder to our governors that winter commencement is scheduled for Saturday, December 17th in the Looney Arena. We're looking forward to all joining us. I also would like to announce that we are very fortunate this year to have as our keynote speaker, Representative Brenda Shields from District 11, who not only has been a very strong and consistent supporter of Missouri Western, but has a very compelling story to share about her own career journey as it is intersected with higher education. And I'm confident once our students hear this, that this will resonate very well with them. Shortly, too, we'll be announcing our graduating student speaker, and my understanding that the selection of the student to deliver this address is almost finished. I also want to highlight to governors, as we've heard today, that the evidence is piling, that we are moving Missouri Western forward with clear direction and sure purpose. Consider the strides we have made and continue to make in our financial standings. What we heard from our auditors today, the improvements that we have made in our processes, controls, and procedures continue to provide a model of best practices from the university to secure the long-term health of our institution. Consider the 4% increase in new student enrollment this fall, the innovative efforts to recruit and enroll students that have been described for governors today, along with plans that will continue that needle for recruitment and enrollment in a positive direction. Consider the good work happening in the Division of Academic Affairs, new program development, impactful implementation of strategic faculty hiring process, which just alone this fall resulted in 21 key new faculty hires. Our faculty's engagement with our community by participating in a variety of events. A quick example comes to mind. Our Griffin Production House is doing amazing things in the community with our students and our high school students. Look at the successful grant acquisition that we've had. Our Department of Nursing received a $230,000 grant from the Missouri Board of Nursing to promote a Earn While You Learn program for LPNs who want to move up to become RNs and secure their BSNs. This week alone, our Law Enforcement Academy received confirmation of an additional $150,000 from the county's ARPA funding to continue the Grow Your Own Law Enforcement program. And also the numerous publications, awards, and presentations our faculty did this semester alone. Consider too, the very good work being done in advancement in the Missouri Western Foundation. Our efforts to provide an exciting homecoming and engage our alumni were incredibly successful this year. And not just alumni, we had over 1,300 students participate in homecoming activities. The foundation continues to serve Missouri Western by generating philanthropic support for our students, our faculty, and our academic programs. By advising and guiding our donors and connecting their passions to the university's priorities. Think about the support of the strategic goals and objectives of the university. This is incredibly positive momentum, and this is what the foundation is doing. So finally, let me conclude with a few highlights of my own community engagement. October has been a very busy month with many events on my calendar. I spoke as the keynote speaker for the Downtown Rotary Club on October 4th and the United Way Leadership St. Joseph on October 13th. I addressed the Kiwanis Club on October 20th and the Community Alliance Board on the 28th. I was back on the Barry Burr KFEQ hotline program on October 12th, and I participated in the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development Commissioners Advisory Council, October 18th through 19th. I'm continuing my work on the St. Joseph School District's Hilliard Technical Expansion Center. Governor Landis is on that with me and as the chair of that, and as well as being on the executive group for that. And that project is moving forward in a very positive direction. I'm thrilled that the deep connection we're seeing between the Hilliard expansion and our CTEC proposal that's moving forward. I'm also continuing my work as the co-chair of the MIAA Task Force on Constitutional Compliance. I also would like to add my congratulations to Teresa. That's a wonderful accolade for her. And I'm continuing to work with President Mosley of Lincoln University on that. I'm confident that we will meet this task force deadline and complete our work by that. So again, the semester is progressing with its usual speed, much too fast in my opinion, but in a manner suggests there is much to be confident as we acknowledge that Missouri Western State University is moving forward with clear direction and sure purpose. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for President Kennedy?
It'll be coming up. You just.
Okay. Well, thank you, President Kennedy. And now President Kennedy is going to introduce our next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Chair. So this is coming to us as other business, and I'll give you just a little bit of background before we launch into our presentation. So as governors might recall, the university's current strategic plan, Pathways to Excellence, was formally approved by the board in July of 2018, following a nearly two-year-long process of campus-wide development. Pathways to Excellence then was implemented in the fall of 2018 to drive the university's strategic goals and objectives as a 5-year plan. That 5-year plan had an established sunset date at the end of the spring 2023 semester. Therefore, in early spring of 22, I asked Dr. Joel Heyer, who is Dean of the College of Liberal Arts, to lead an assessment of the impact and value of the plan to the university and provide a recommendation as to what we might consider as next steps. Joining Dean Heyer in this work has been Vice Provost Dr. Elise Hepworth and Chief Communications Officer Becky Dunn. And their work began last April of 2022. And based on initial assessments, which they'll be providing you shortly, and in consideration too of the impact that COVID had on rolling out a plan, we essentially lost a year to that. They have indicated that rather than constructing an entirely new plan at this time, simply offering some slight adjustments to the current plan, along with a modified sunset day, is the best course of action. Doing so will allow for greater alignment with our 2021 master academic plan, which this board approved in 2021, and that plan is moving forward. But it also gives Missouri Western the opportunity to dovetail our strategic plan more closely with the Imagine St. Joseph 2040 plan. Now, if the governors aren't familiar with that, we've provided a copy for you at your desk. But in essence, this Imagine St. Joseph 24 plan was developed as part of a community-wide grassroots effort that was also launched in 2018. And it has the focus of moving the city of St. Joseph forward deliberately and with good intentionality. How are they doing this? By investing in people, creating a better place, and growing prosperity. So calibrating Missouri Western Strategic Plan, which already leverages similar themes to that of the St. Joseph's Plan, will amplify both of our individual gains as well as our collective impact in our community. Now, as I've reported to our governors, I have the pleasure of serving on the Imagine St. Joseph 2040 implementation team, which consists of a very dedicated group of community leaders who are working to ensure that progress is made on achieving the desired goals, and importantly, that the outcomes and that this plan continues. And I'd like to take just a moment to introduce two folks that are with us today. They're leading the implementation efforts in our community. We have with us first Mr. Lowell Cruz. He is co-chair of the implementation team and of course, a distinguished member of our community, retired CEO of Heartland Health Community. And well, I just don't have time to list everything, Lowell. Sorry about that. And we also have Tama Wagner. She is the director of the Community Alliance that works to promote the shared vision for the community through collective input from our citizens, and who is the push behind the scenes, if you will, to keep momentum for the 2040 plan going. So thank you too for coming today, where it's very nice to have you. At this point, I would like to turn over my time to the group, Dean Heyer, Dr. Hepworth, and Becky Dunn, to present their work on the assessment of and recommendations for our strategic plan. Therefore, please go ahead.
Well, good afternoon. Happy Thursday. It's good to see you all here. I believe you all know me. I'm Joel Heyer. I'm Dean of the College of Liberal Arts. And along with Becky Dunn and Dr. Elise Hepworth, we're going to be providing an update and a report based on the efforts that we've been making over the last 6 months. As was explained, the current strategic plan is Pathways to Excellence from 2018 to 2022. And as was indicated, was developed in 2017 and 2018. In that, there are 5 major themes that are focus areas, if you will, of that plan. The student experience, people, partnerships, programs, and stewardship. And the focus or the goal of all that is student success. And so there have been a number of things that have been accomplished and many things that are currently being accomplished with that. And again, the purpose of meeting with you today is to provide some updates in that regard. Next slide, please. Oh, I do. Wow. Okay. I didn't realize I had the power. Now I'll just have to figure out how to use it on the fly, right? My luck, I'll probably do it backwards. Okay. Anyways, President Kennedy's charge was fourfold. It was to review the current strategic plan, which is exactly what we've done. We've conducted an assessment, kind of reminiscent when you go to a physician, a doctor, and you go and have all your vitals checked, your pulse and everything. That was kind of the intention. It was to kind of see where are we at with the plan, what has been accomplished, what has not been accomplished, where are we at exactly, and then to consider extending the strategic plan for 2 years. And just kind of a foreshadowing of discussions to come is that as we met with focus groups, that was something that really started to resonate. There was a sense that the university is no longer under a financial exigency. We are hoping that the pandemic, it appears to be in our rearview mirror. And so the idea was there were 2 years there that were a little stressful. for us at the university. But nevertheless, there were still some good things that were accomplished during that time. There was an idea, though, that maybe with those 2 years, we could extend it by 2 more years, just because there's still a number of things out there that we would really love to accomplish. Don't we call that psychological closure? I don't know. But, and then also to align the plan with the Imagine St. Joseph plan. And it appears that you have that in front of you. I was looking at that again this morning. And I must say that I'm very, very much dazzled by what's in that plan. And it's very clear to me that what is in that plan, there is a very real Missouri Western State University footprint in there. It's pretty clear to me that employees of the university at that time were heavily involved in its authorship. Next slide, please. And so when you have both of those side by side, there are some real correlations between the two. Investing in people correlates with, on the Missouri Western side, strategic plan, people and partnerships in so many different ways. Creating a better place, certainly stewardship is in there. The student experience, growing prosperity, that's all there as well. And so there's some real correlations between the two, and it makes sense to tease those out, if you will.
Good afternoon. I'm Elise Hepworth. I will be speaking to you about our focus group sessions. So in an effort to gain feedback from our stakeholders at the university, we held 4 focus group sessions, 1 in June, 1 in July, and 2 in August during Plan Week. We recognize that many of our faculty are off campus during the summer, and we wanted to make sure that we provided ample opportunity for every employee to provide meaningful feedback. It was robust, it was fun, it was a wonderful opportunity to be together and to share meaningful discussion surrounding the strategic plan. It was structured in that every table, every kind of working group was offered a theme of the plan and would be able to ask a couple of questions. Does this still resonate with you? And should we continue on in these efforts of tracking through the rest of the strategic plan, or should we put it on a shelf and perhaps consider it for later? And we had a resounding response in efforts of enthusiasm, continuing the plan, and moving forward with our same planning themes. We had about 75 people participate in those sessions, and then we commenced with a focus group in early October. There were some emerging themes out of the feedback, the multiple focus groups, as well as surveys that were distributed afterward, that there was resounding support for extending the strategic plan, that these 5 planning themes still very much resonate with our university and employees and stakeholders. There is a deep desire for more overall communication in an effort to share and celebrate the good things that are happening and the way that we're progressing forward with the plan. And there was a great emerging theme of desire to participate in additional planning. I felt like this was a wonderful way for us to take a step back and look to see not only how are we viewing the plan and what's unfolded thus far, but how are those around us viewing what we've accomplished. And we do have some work to do. And I think that is why we're still going to be proposing to extend the strategic plan for a further 2 years.
So from those focus groups in the open forum, we asked the attendees to submit feedback through Post-it notes, and we received 131 Post-it notes. And in those notes, we asked people to identify strategies that we should focus on now and what should be focused on later. So there are 19 strategies in the strategic plan, and over 70% of the feedback was, let's do this now. So there's definitely a lot of enthusiasm about continuing the plan, continuing to work on those strategies. But in light of our capacity and thinking about what we're able to accomplish and wanting to narrow our focus, we really zoned in on strategies that we assessed as in progress but not complete. And we identified 6 that we wanted to focus on if this plan is extended for 2 years as we're proposing. These 6 bubbled up from the feedback. So most of the feedback that we received really centered around student experience, people, partnership, stewardship. And so this is where we drew those proposed 6 strategies from that we want to prioritize. So when we think about the strategic plan, as you've heard today, we've accomplished and set in motion a lot of these strategies, and many of them will continue even if they're not one of the 6, because they're ongoing. They're just part of what we do now. We've really operationalized them. And others may continue in a different format, but we really wanted to have a focus for what we would do with these next 2 years with the extension of the strategic plan. So there are 6 strategies, and you'll see 3 here, the theme that they correlate to, and then the actual strategy there. So working through the feedback and looking then at those plans, the strategies rather, will help us operationalize and form some next steps for these next 2 years. Then the final 3, are listed here. So we have 2 from student experience, 2 from stewardship, 1 from people, and 1 from partnerships. And these 6 will be the 6 that we focus on, that we work with individual units to build out timelines and objectives and next steps. And that will fall in line with our proposed timeline. So looking at extending the strategic plan so that it will sunset in the spring of 2025, so at the conclusion of that academic year. Then concurrently, we'll begin developing the next strategic plan so that we are prepared to launch a new one in the fall of 2025, when this one would conclude. We've tried to be mindful of other major accreditation visits and plans that will need to be written, other documents that will take time, staff, and resources. And we think that this timeline will complement that and will make sense, and also help us to continue to move forward with the good work set out in this plan. And that concludes our presentation.
Any questions or comments?
Is there a downside to continuing this? I mean, everything you've said sounds really good. Does that affect us either with accreditation or within the academic community, or is there? Otherwise, it seems like this makes good sense.
It does not. The Higher Learning Commission really doesn't have any firm set of thoughts as far as continuing that or not. I think part of the logic of continuing it when faculty and staff and others were looking at what's been done so far, there was a recognition that there are so many things that are still in process. It just wouldn't make sense to say, well, we got 40% done with initiative X, let's just call it good. And so there's just a number of things that we have going on right now that I feel would behoove the university to wrap up, to come to a conclusion. And so I think that's part of the thought with that.
Yeah. I do want to also mention that that our master academic plan is born out of the strategic plan. And part of what we're doing with our Higher Learning Commission accreditation is that we're submitting the master academic plan as a part of our quality improvement initiative. So this is going to help us roll the rest of the plan out and fully realize the master academic plan in alignment with what our accreditation responsibilities are. So it's working out quite beautifully, actually.
I love it when a plan comes together beautifully. But just to put the bow on it, the HLC, the Higher Learning Accreditation folks, our next visit will be coming up in 26. So this really does kind of push everything in one neat pile right before they get here.
And
How have we
go ahead, please.
incorporated the voice of the customer student? Because ultimately, that's who we have to make happy, and then also people who hire them, because I think the ultimate goal is for them to get a job. So
So
would
how,
just
how
say-
is that in the plan
Yeah,
or?
how have you heard their voice, their definition of student success? My as a potential employer, them voice of student success, not just the faculty's voice, but the actual
Yeah.
customer.
So during the original formation of the plan, I'm the remainder, I'm the last man standing, so to speak, I was a part of that process, and they did have significant student input. There was student government representation, and that there was also community external representation. So this final kind of pulling around and looking at this to determine how we're moving forward. We didn't dive that deep into it because we knew that this was established. We weren't adding anything new. We were just looking at it and making an assessment whether we should continue forward or not. So we did not gain the feedback from students and external constituencies at that time, but at the birth of the plan really had a robust amount of student
I mean,
and
it's
stakeholder
definitely
input.
changed, yes.
The strategic plan, Oh, pardon
People's
me.
Perception and with all that's gone on in the labor force is very different today than it was
yes.
1 year ago, much less however many years ago, 2018, I think you said.
Right. And it
So
is.
I just
it-
encourage you to think about.
Oh,
that because
absolutely.
In the end, we're not on an island.
Absolutely. And I know that when we do conduct as a following strategic plan, that is a traditional and best practices in gaining feedback and writing a new plan. So we'll be sure to do that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Well, thank you, Joel, Elise, and Becky. Nice presentation. Dr. Kennedy? back to
Yes,
you.
so Chair, I would present to the board a recommendation that the board approve extending the university's strategic plan Pathways to Excellence for 2 more years as outlined in the presentation.
So do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The motion carries. I'm going to have my report. First of all, the next board meeting will be on Thursday, February the 23rd, 2023 at 1:30 in the afternoon. Are there any other board member comments or questions at this time? Well, I'd like to congratulate Teresa. That was a nice honor, and we know you'll do what. I'd like to offer my thanks to the faculty, staff, students, and our visitors attending today. I appreciate all of you in attendance. And Lowell and Tama, thank you for coming. There being no further comments or questions, a vote will be held to close the meeting pursuant to Missouri statutes 610.021, sections 1, 2, 3, and 14 to consider legal matters, real estate, personnel, and other matters protected by law. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passed, and we'll take a 10-minute break before.
Standard.
Are we back in session here?
Not
I
yet.
know.
So we have 2 people watching today,
2 right now.
2 right now.
Now, 17 earlier.
Nixon recorded stuff.
Well, I'm
Okay.
sure if my mother was alive, she would be.
I'm just saying. I didn't ask a question. I didn't say an opinion.
Are we back in session?
No, he'll.
There's your son.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
The board meeting's back in open session. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel recommendations and other legal matters as presented in closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carried. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned, and thank you, everybody, for your time and your input. See you in February.
Hmm.
Thank you.